Welcome once more to our channel. It's me, Emmanuel Opiakas here. You see, today, what we're about to discuss today is very, very important. You see, some of you might be caught up in what you're about to discuss today. For those of you who go about promising ladies marriage, engaging ladies publicly or in private, maybe for the sake of getting into their hearts, or for those of you ladies who are busy extorting money from some men whom you feel are not literate, or some people you just wish to use as a means to achieving your end, it's best you watch this video. And if either you, your friend, your family, relative, your children have fallen victim or is about to victimize other persons in what I'm about to discuss today, please retrace your step. Okay, today we want to deal with something very special. I know not so many people have talked about this, and that's why we're taking steps to discuss this, to create sanity, to teach you a better approach to your legal issues. And this borders on breach of promise to marry. You guys must have seen one video that was posted on the internet. I just watched it. Okay, so did you see that? Now, it was said to be a house built by someone to his prospective spouse, and then the lady now reneged from getting married to him and married someone else. So he gathered all his villagers, his friends and families to go carry the house, and that was the house they are carrying now. That's not the only case. There's even one that trended some time ago about a lady whose spouse built massive house for them. She went ahead to marry some other person. The guy spent so much money and brought down the house. You can watch it. I am suspecting it. Did you guys see that? That's not the only case. There have been cases where some guys gain unnecessary benefits from ladies, such as sponsorship, spend so much money on you, invest in your dream and your goal with the intentions that you're getting married to her, and at the end you renege from the promise. Some of you even go as far as even proposing to ladies just for the sake of getting into their hearts. And when you finally got in there and it's the right time to do the right thing, boom, you renege. Some of you would even make some men or pressure some men into sponsoring you through universities. You know, go abroad, you study, only understanding that, oh, after my studies, I'll come get married to you. And after that studies, that is when you remember that he's an illiterate, a stark illiterate. It's not your class, it's not your kind of person. Now the law is here to pin you. You see? So now, if you've been a victim of this or you suffer from this, don't waste your money going to buy poison to kill yourself or to kill some other person. Because someone proposed to you or you proposed to someone publicly and they went ahead to marry some other person, then you decide that sniper is the way out. Please, it is not the way out. Or you decide you want to jump into the river in 10 Milan Bridge, it is still not the way out. Or you want to gather some thugs to go maim the person, you end up regretting it because you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. If not sentenced to death, remember, the punishment for murder is death penalty. This is Nigeria. Or you contemplate any form of evil whatsoever, the law frowns at self-help. Now, what under what circumstances does the breach of promise to marry arise? Someone has asked me last week. He said, if someone proposes to you publicly, does it constitute a breach of promise to marry if the guy refuses to marry you afterwards? Yes, it does. Or in fact, a promise to marry is likened to a contract, to an executory contract. You know, there are two types of contract. There's executed contract, there's executory contract. Executed contract is contract where every parties have fulfilled their obligation. I want to buy television set, you've paid the person, he brings the television to you, the contract is executed. Executory contract is okay, in 2 months time, 3 months time, I would like you to go to my village, build a house, you agree. After the agreement, you pay him. He himself is here to fulfill his obligation. It's executory on one part. Or a situation whereby you have agreed with someone to supply you some goods, some shoes you bought from a vendor online, it's an executory contract. So a promise to marry is an executory contract because it has not been fulfilled. So when you kneel down and propose to somebody, maybe presence of everybody, will you marry me romantically with such a sweet voice? And then the guy begin and say, oh yes, 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 and everybody class, back. Ati follows you, goes home, start performing all the marital obligation, watches all the plates in the kitchen, they does all the laundry. Some of them will even fulfill their jobs, follow you to your house just to make sure that you work out your dream. Some will start, investing in you as a lady or as a guy, and then tomorrow you discover, oh, she's not my class, she's not my class. Or someone comes into your life, or you bring in your family and friends, they come in, intrude, and destroy that marriage. Can that person sue you for breach of promise to marry? Yes, it is an executory contract. It is anticipatory. A breach of promise to marry occurs when a person has promised another person, either expressly or by conduct, that he or she will be married to this person, and they both have exchanged that promises. It can be in form of, like I said, engagement. It can also be in form of, oh, maybe by conduct, you'll be living together, giving birth to kids, cohabiting, or you expressing the person, oh babe, will you marry me? Can we get married? And you agree, oh, when I come back to Nigeria, we are getting married. And he or she comes back to Nigeria, has invested on some things, and then you renege from it. Something like that. These things can constitute what? A breach or a promise to marry. Some of you have one engagement ring for 8 years. You've talked a lot of the rings. After tying you down for like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 2 years, 3 years, a year, wearing engagement ring, you move ahead to marry another person without any reason or anything that could have vitiated that. Does it also amount to breach of promise to marry? Yes, it also amounts to breach of promise to marry. When does a breach of promise to marry arise? There are two ways it can arise. Number one, it can be an anticipatory breach, and it can come in form of non-performance. What's an anticipatory breach? An anticipatory breach is like, you guys have agreed that you're getting married maybe next year, December, August. Oh, come back to Nigeria, we'll get married, you go see your parents. Or, hey, don't let anybody come into your life, I'm coming back, we'll get married. And she gets herself ready, start preparing for the marriage, even invite others. Some will even print invitation card, inviting people, come to my wedding, and so on and so forth. After printing the invitation card and doing all sorts of things, then you now renege. Village Shepherd, you remember that, oh, there was someone I promised I was going to marry. Oh, there's someone I've been dating from my childhood, and so on and so forth. Now, before that date, you didn't come back again, or you go ahead to marry some other person. There is now an anticipatory breach. Because why is it said to be anticipatory? The time is not yet there. You are to get married in August next year. You are to get married in 2 months' time. You are to get married when you come back to Nigeria. She is to get married to you when she comes abroad to meet you, and so on and so forth. Some of you agree with somebody, okay, bring me abroad, we'll get married. When he brings you abroad, then you go ahead to run away from the house or marry some other person. Yes, it's an anticipatory breach. Then non-performance is when that date had come and passed and it did not happen. For instance, you fix a wedding or traditional marriage with someone, and on that very day it has happened. Some people have been abandoned on the day of their traditional marriage. That very day you waited for the person, the families and friends, everybody are there waiting for the person, and the person renege or does not come or doesn't honor it. That is what we call non-performance. So in this case, a breach of promise to marry had arrived. Now what do you do? Do you look for sniper? Do you look for maybe one good or tapia? Do you look for a place to hang yourself and make a good, wonderful written note, a masterpiece? Oh my God, I was heartbroken, and Kechi caused my heartbreak, and now I want to take it up. I want to end it here, and then you end it there. You gotta face your Savior in heaven and face your judgment if you get to heaven. And if you don't go to heaven, you face the devil. So ensure that you take the legal steps, because the law does not allow you to suffer a wrong without a remedy. And what does the breach of promise to marry entitles you to? No, it will not make the court say, oh, you have promised this girl that you would marry her, or you've promised this guy you marry her, now you must marry her. No, because the court will not force a willing party on an unwilling party. What the court will do is to award you damages for your psychological trauma, for every circumstantial damages, like the people that built house for somebody, those that trained someone or saw someone through school, and so on and so forth. So the law would award you damages on circumstantial evidence. Make sure that damage is not so remote. Oh. Make sure it's not so, maybe because he broke your heart, then you drank poison and you were saved, and then they took you to hospital, you spent so much to revive you. Yes, it's too remote. Nobody asks you to that. And remember, if you want to commit suicide and you fail, it is also a criminal offense. You go to jail. I wouldn't advise you to do that, but once you fail, you're going to jail. That is how strict the Nigerian law is, and how the court and the law respect the sanctity of human life, let alone taking the life of another because of a failed promise to marry. What would constitute, or in what circumstances would it be said that a breach might not occur, or would the court interpret it that a breach might not occur? Remember, marriage is a type of contract, and everything that would vitiate a valid contract would also vitiate a marriage. But before we go into what would exonerate the person or constitute non-breach of promise, let us go into what constitutes a valid promise to marry. One, there would be an offer. An offer can come in form of the proposal, text message, letter, exchange of promises, the things you say outside, the things you say to the person, I will marry you next year, or we are getting married, baby, please marry me, and so on. So you go to see the parents, you take drink to the parents. Remember, it's not just the statutory marriage. Oh. The statutory marriage or English marriage, the customary marriage, and also the Islamic marriage. These are the three types of marriage: statutory marriage, customary marriage, and the Islamic marriages. When you renege from each of them, you can also constitute a breach of promise to marry. Now, for elements of a valid contract, there must be offer. Offer is that promise to marry. There must be acceptance. Remember, it's not just, oh, will you marry me? And then you say no, you walk out on the guy without accepting. Then when the guy renege, cannot constitute a breach of promise to marry. You must have accepted it, either expressly or by conduct. You move in with the person, you start giving birth, you start compromising your situation, living like husband and wife, cohabiting, and so on and so forth. It's also an acceptance. Acceptance can be by conduct. Considerations are those acts you do during marriage, during a relationship, those things you do in preparation. Maybe you've even bought some wedding things, wedding gown, you've done IV, you started turning down people, your prospective suitors, you started turning them down, you started doing anything that would show that you're doing. So consideration must not be monetary. It can be a forbearance. It can be an act, you understand, which you suffer, a forbearance you suffer, an act you do in furtherance of that promise to marry. Then there must be a capacity to contract. That part is very important. For some of you who would go meet a little girl of about 14 years and you start doing everything for her, building house for the parents, hoping that, oh, when she's through from school, then you get married to her. At that age, does she have that capacity to contract? Imagine in Ashraf Hakimi's case, if the wife had he was still 17 years old, could he have successfully got married to the lady? We'll still discuss the Ashraf Hakimi's divorce case, the alimony and everything, the settlement. We'll discuss it in the next video, so stay tuned so that you get the gist of the whole thing and the legal implication and the Nigerian situation of it. Now, the age, the mental capacity, sanity, insanity, and so on and so forth. So those things are very important. Then the intention to create legal relation. You must not have gone into that arrangement for the sake of extorting someone or committing some illegal acts, anything contrary to the law, or in furtherance of anything that would not, somebody cannot infer, okay, these people want to do something that is legally binding. And then you make sure that there are no vitiating element of a valid contract. That is when you say that there is a proper promise to marry. Then what would exonerate that person? If the person promised to marry you, whether a lady or a guy, and he fails, what are the things that can exonerate that person? What are the things that the court will look and say, oh, I don't think this guy actually promised to get married you. I don't think this guy actually agreed to marry this guy you. Number one, if the contract is illegal. Illegal is something that is against the law, which is punishable under the law. Number two, if it is void or voidable. For instance, when you agree to marry somebody who is below the age of marriage, 18 years or 21 years, depending under the law, if the person doesn't have that contractual capacity, that age, then if the consent was obtained by fraud or undue influence, maybe you are the person's pastors that will do arranging, maybe somebody has paid them to, provide husband or provide wife, and he comes brainwash you that the Lord revealed to me that this man is your husband, the Lord revealed to me that this man is your wife. Maybe they've arranged, paid so that they can get your consent. If it is obtained by fraud, by undue influence or by duress, maybe you got the lady pregnant and they bring you at police station and say you should sign that you must marry the person or undertake to marry the person, then that consent was obtained by what? Duress. So these are the things that can vitiate it, that the court will look at and say, I don't think there's a promise to marry. So next time, before you say, oh, someone promised to marry me and he failed, ensure that all these things I've listed are there, and the ones that are not supposed to be there are not there. And the proper thing to do is Get your lawyer. Remember, this does not take the place of a legal advice. You need to consult a lawyer, pay with you. They know the necessary thing to do and get you damages. The court would award you damages if you have suffered from this. And then don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube. Subscription is absolutely free. Subscribe, watch it. Don't be stingy with knowledge. Share it. We are not stingy. That's why we are bringing it to you. Share it to your friends. Share it. You can save your life. You can save people that are contemplating suicide. You can save people that are contemplating to kill themselves, to commit one crime or the other by sharing this video. Save it. Discuss it with your kids as they grow up, because they need to know that the law has their backing at any time, any day, any moment. So they don't contemplate doing illegal things just because their heart have been broken, or because someone hurt them, or someone broke the promise to marry them. Let them know that save the video, it can save life tomorrow. What's more is Emmanuel Obiakaze. Welcome to our legal clinic. Stay tuned. We have a lot in stock for you.